Doesn't it feel like the due factor a little bit, where you're due for a game? Like, that's a low number. If we were talking 24 and a half, I would say, stay away from it because he's just been too wildly inconsistent. But you look at last game with only 8 shots and getting you 17 points, it's tempting. I don't want to tell you yes because James Harden is one of the players in the playoffs that I stay away from because you have no idea what you're going to get game in and game out. But if you really, really, really are tempted to bet on that, I would say that I would be – if you gave me a bonus bet, I would bet it. Let's put it that way. My own money, I'm not going to, only because I don't trust James Harden even to get you necessarily 21 points in this game where he could finish with 19. I feel like it's going to be close. I feel like it's going to be a sweat for you, but only 8 shots last game and 17 points tells you he could come out there tonight knowing that this is an elimination game and a lot's on the line, and he knows what the narrative is around him. The only other thing, though, is does Joel Embiid start cooking? That's the MVP. Does he start cooking, and does Harden just keep distributing and get you like 13 assists in this and then 18 points?
What version of James Harden do you think makes Philly best? Because now we've seen them win both ways, right, Nick? Like, we thought that he had to be the guy to go out there and score 40-plus points and hit those game winners. They won those couple of games. Then they also won that game where he dropped 8. And the truth is, that one wasn't even close. Like, what do you think if you're a Philly bettor tonight, let's say you're betting Philly on the money line at plus 115 for them to win the game and close out the series, what Harden do you think Philly fans hope to get?
Why can't we have something more in the middle? You notice it's like everything's an extreme with him where it's like only taking 8 shots or puts up 45 points. Like, if he could go out and get you, he still has to be a scoring threat. That still matters. We're not going through every single game. We're not going through every team schedule. And we're not sitting there going win-loss the entire way. Like, it's the stuff that stands out throughout the game as it gets to us. We'll have Jason La Confora on in about 20 minutes here to talk to him about that, because there's stuff that matters and stuff that doesn't matter on the schedule release, okay? Stuff that matters is the national TV and primetime games. I want to know where those are, where the London games are. Obviously now with the weird quirks and Peacock and Amazon, that stuff's interesting. Holiday games, who's playing on Thanksgiving, who's playing now on Christmas and New Year's, because the NFL is just taking over every single day, and the NBA is like, leave some room for us. What are you doing? The end of the schedule, right? Playoff pushes. What's a team's schedule look like the last 5 weeks of the season? That's really important. Obviously the early lines, that matters today. And then, of course, there's the social videos, which this is the Super Bowl for team social media teams, right? Like, they put out these schedule release videos they've been working on forever. Some of them are cool, some of them are lame, but everybody's trying to do something creative, and I love it. But what doesn't matter, Sean, is who they play, because we already know. So that takes some of the juice out of this whole thing. The win-loss game. We're going to play that to a point, but let's be honest with ourselves. It's May. There are a lot of factors that can still come in before we really know how a team is, week 12 of the NFL season. But sure, we can try and play that game and have fun with it, but it's utterly ridiculous. And then, of course, the overreaction doesn't matter at all during the schedule release either, because we're all going to overreact, and in the end, we're wrong because it's May, and there's a million things that change by the time we get there. Buffalo and the Jets, though, the Monday night game. Buffalo's a 1.5-point favorite on the road at the Jets. That's going to be Aaron Rodgers' debut, and he is going to be, first off, the NFL's smart, putting Aaron Rodgers on Monday Night Football. But he's going to be with a new receiving core, new team, bright lights, chance now to show that what happened last year, he's not washed up yet. I think Aaron Rodgers has a big game there. I kind of like the Jets are only plus 105 on the money line. I think I kind of like the Jets, actually, to maybe pull that off, just with the emotion that's there. It's a new team. You don't really know what Aaron Rodgers is going to look like in that Jets offense, and I think the Jets can sneak up on Buffalo week 1, and I actually would probably take – I'm not betting any games this early because it's just – there's too many factors, but if you made me place a bet right now in week 1, I like the Jets plus 1.5 at home against the Bills on Monday Night Football.
If Philadelphia played in the AFC, we all agree that Kansas City's the top dog. Is Philly next in the AFC? Or are we talking about other teams? Are they better than Cincinnati? Are they better than Buffalo? Are they better than Baltimore? Because I just don't buy into Philly. I just think they happen to be the best team in a horrible NFC.
They're a really, really talented offense, though, too. Or they're a really loaded team. Where they would stand in the AFC, I'd put them behind the Chiefs. I'd put them behind the Bengals. I'd put them above the Bills at this point. Maybe the third best team in the AFC. Because Jalen Hurts, if Jalen Hurts can continue his ascension, that's the big key. What we saw last year with an MVP caliber season shows you, like, okay, they're taking that next step, but they can run the football. They've got dangerous receivers there. They've got great coaching. They've got a really smart front office. Oh, and by the way, they just added like 5 great defensive players from Georgia. So it's just the team that's won back-to-back national championships now all playing in Philadelphia. But I don't know if I'd put them ahead of the Colts or the Chiefs or the Bengals, but it'd be pretty damn close. It really just depends on kind of what you see from some of those younger guys, especially on the defense early in the season.
I don't think it's going anywhere because, again, you've created another window where you've got another national game. And look, they've pushed the boundaries as far as they can in terms of how many days a week we play football, right? They're not going – they've added the Black Friday thing, right? So Friday's a little bit in the mix, but like Tuesday night football, Wednesday night football, it's not feasible. So, okay, well, if we can't add more days to the week or the calendar, or we can't play football every single day for obvious reasons, then how do we make these windows a little bigger? How do we expand them? Again, it's not rocket science. What's going on? So no, I don't think it's going away by any stretch of the imagination. I also think if we're doing this interview 3 years from now, we're talking about maybe not at that point in time 18-game seasons, but the conversation will have started because I mentioned earlier these TV deals have opt-outs like 4 years down the line. Well, one of the pivotal points in whether they stay or whether they opt out is if they think they've now convinced the NFLPA to go to 18 games, then guess what? They're going to opt out because they've just added a whole lot more volume to the overall package. So those conversations are coming. But, yeah, for the NFL, less ain't more, more is more.
The same way you don't know what Brock Purdy is. I can't believe I'm saying this because he's got, 1, 2, 3, 4 MVP awards. Do we really know what Aaron Rodgers is? Do we really know what Aaron Rodgers is? I know finally he's going to have weapons and finally he's going to be happy. Man, he might go out there and be the same guy that we've seen the last couple of seasons, frankly, which is, the 15th, the 16th best quarterback in the NFL. So I agree with you. This game is must-see TV. Anytime Aaron Rodgers is on the field this year, there's going to be a bunch of eyeballs watching. Although you should have stuck with your original conclusion, Philly is way better than everybody in the NFC. I'm not telling you Philly is a great football team. I'm telling you that compared to everybody else in the NFC, including Brock Purdy and your 49ers, there's a pretty big gap between the Eagles and everybody else.
Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Cincinnati Bengals at Burrowhead Stadium, 4:25 Eastern,
you went
Week
there?
17, New Year's Eve. Oh, I went there. Even though the Chiefs made that known it wasn't the case when they won in the AFC title game and then went on to, win a Super Bowl. But that being said, this is a rivalry. And he kind of thought you were going to get Bills-Chiefs for a little bit. Bills took a step back. They lose back-to-back years in great playoff matchups, especially the second one to the Chiefs in the second round of the playoffs, the divisional round. The Bengals and Chiefs now, that is going to become the premier rivalry in the AFC, maybe the entire NFL. I cannot wait for this game. And I have to be honest with you. I'll tell you what number one is in a minute. This should be the number one game, but I'll let you weigh in on your Chiefs, my friend.
So when Patrick Mahomes got good, which was like 5 minutes after his first start, I was looking back the other day. That dude had 4 touchdown passes and no interceptions his first game. His first game as a full-time starting quarterback. He played in garbage time for Alex Smith the last game of the season, but as a full-time starting quarterback, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Then he had 6 touchdowns and no interceptions. 2 weeks into his NFL career, 10 touchdowns and no interceptions. That being said, the reason I bring it up, ever since then, in Kansas City, where I host, we've always been trying to find who's going to be the Elway to Joe Montana, right? Who's going to be the Peyton Manning to our Tom Brady? Because we've got that guy now in Patrick Mahomes. And it's funny how the names have cycled. A few years ago, we used to bring up maybe it's Deshaun Watson. We used to bring up maybe it's going to be Kyler Murray, right? When he had that good season. Maybe whoever his adversary was going to be, not just in the AFC, but in the NFL. And then we talked about it was going to be Josh Allen. Then we talked about it was going to be – it's finally obvious that it is Joe Burrow. And the reason I say that is because of all the great quarterbacks that we talk about, let's just stick to the AFC for the sake of this conversation. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, none of them are really that accomplished in the playoffs besides Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Like,